firstly, I'm going to start this evening by acknowledging that all of us are living and working on Aboriginal land. I'm sitting on the lands this evening of the Wongal and the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and I'd like to pay my respects to elders past, present, and those who are amongst us every day who show their leadership, courage and resilience, and who have been a long line of people who have taken care of the land and the waterways and the animals and the trees. And I'd like to pay my respects to the longest continuing culture on the planet, the Aboriginal people. So I'm sitting here on the lovely lands here that were never ceded, otherwise known as Dulwich Hill, for those in Sydney. And this evening, this is, of course, another welcome to a Meet the Artist evening. And tonight I'm really excited and a little bit nervous to be speaking with Brenda Gifford, who is a composer who's joining us. Good evening, Brenda. Thanks for making time for us today. And what I thought I'd do is just give everyone a little bit of an overview of the Meet the Artist series. So this series really is about connecting with some of the great female leaders, artists, thinkers of our time during this time of lockdown during COVID. And this is an initiative of the Women's Club to really celebrate female leadership and artists, and getting to know them a little bit better, and getting an opportunity to do a deep dive into who they are, how they make, what they make and why. So this evening, Brenda Gifford is a Yuin woman, originally from Wreck Bay, South Coast, New South Wales. She's currently in the inaugural First Peoples Composer in Residence for Ensemble Offspring, and her work Elements, Bagan, Mirawa, Nagajan and Ganji will be premiered at the Canberra International Music Festival. She's a part of the Composing Women program at the Sydney Conservatorium of Music with Professor Lisa Lim, and her original compositions for the CD Music for the Dreaming on the ABC label was nominated for an ARIA in 2019. Her compositions have had worldwide premieres in New York, with Professor Claire Chase performing at the National Sawdust in New York. And she's had 20 years extensive experience as a musician, and is a composer, saxophonist, and teacher. Brenda was a member of the band Mixed Relations with Bart Willoughby from No Fixed Address, and she toured extensively nationally to Aboriginal communities around Australia and internationally to Native American communities and to the Pacific Islands. She's worked with Kev Carmody on his album Eulogy for a Black Person, playing saxophone on the track Blood Red Rose. She wrote the album sleeve notes for the reissued The Loner album by Uncle Vic Sims. She's done over 100 interviews and oral histories with Aboriginal musicians. So I think it's pretty lucky that we've been able to find some time of yours this evening, Brenda, to just have a bit of a chat about, because you've clearly been really busy, to have a bit of chat about your practice and your process,
Cool.
and what inspires you. So welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
So I'm just wondering if we could just start off by just finding out a little bit more about where you've grown up, maybe a bit about Wreck Bay, and can you tell a bit about how place really plays a part in who you are and what you do?
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so born down Narrabega, and kind of spent my early years at Rec, and then in my teen years it's up in Sydney, yeah, and then from there on, yeah. So it was kind of like, I think this kind of it's my memories of as well, and as an adult, you know, kind of going to Rec and kind of connecting, reconnecting. And it's kind of memories of country as well. Yeah, so it's just such beautiful country down there, and that really inspires me.
That's wonderful. Because you're really sort of coming from a small town like, you know, Wreck Bay originally, but you've gone all over the world internationally, as I said before, and playing saxophone and also with your compositions as well. So I'm just wondering, can you take us back to maybe your first memories, your first connection to music? Was it always classical music that you were interested in, or contemporary music? Tell us a bit.
That's interesting. I kind of come from a jazz background, so I kind of playing in big bands and that type of thing, and doing some early study back in the day with people like what's his name, Don Burrows, and jazz people, and kind of I say in my early years of my career or whatever. Just getting that jazz, just getting that the jazz background and the theory and all that stuff was kind of a basis of me for me then going forward, playing in different types and styles, and now writing, composing. Yeah,
because I guess jazz has so many different elements to it, has so many different styles. And Don was such an interesting bloke, because it was saxophone, flute, clarinet. He was sort of
yeah, and he was a kind of like he was just a brilliant teacher, and I learned a lot of him, because he's very generous with his time and his teaching. Yeah.
For sure. And I guess with jazz, there's also a really amazing tradition with jazz in improvisation and exploration, and being able to sort of play around with melodies. And I'm just sort of, do you think that that's a bit of a part of the sort of maybe the process that you've
it's definitely kind of now I'm doing composing. That's really part of my process, is sitting down at the piano and just playing around with ideas and chords and melodies, and just kind of spending time on the piano and seeing what happens, and then I'll record a bit, and then from that I might have 4 ideas and one might be useful. So it's kind of like that idea. And the other thing is the sense with improvisation, having that having a sense or an element of freedom within a composition for the musos, so they can do something interesting. I really like that idea, whereby you can give the musicians a bit of I call it freedom within a written context.
Within a bit of a structure. It's sort of like a playful kind of thing to do, I guess. Yeah. And
that idea. Yeah.
I've really in the last couple of days I've been really enjoying listening to some of your recordings on Spotify and also on YouTube as well. I particularly like the piece, I think it's called Plover.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because I think it's just so it's so beautiful, but it's also quite, again, playful. There's that rhythmic element underneath which comes in, which I think is really, really fantastic. It's very layered as
okay, yeah. It was kind of like I'll say not a musical response, but kind to capture the idea, or an idea of plovers, birds, and how they actually sound and how they move and act. And I really enjoyed that, because it was kind of trying to capture on on manuscript, and then people like Ensemble, Offspring just bring that stuff to life. Yeah.
They're pretty, they're a great ensemble, and we'll get to your work with Ensemble Offspring in just a little bit. I guess you've previously said in some interviews on the ABC that you take your inspiration from your people and your culture, and that was sort of at the end of a sort of like a quite a short snippet, and then it sort of then it sort of cut to the ocean, and then that was it. And I thought, I want to know more. So Brenda, when you say that you take a lot of your inspiration really from people and culture, how does that really translate into your practice as a musician and a composer?
So when I say that, I'm just trying to give an example. So an example would be I wrote a piece, Bundula, which was a story that my Uncle George told, which relates to a creation story from down there on country. And I wrote that, and it was a kind of a musical, I say that word, musical response. But the other thing is, it's all kind of, when I say, people and culture, so it really is the idea of culture captured on a written piece, was it? Western manuscript music is a Western construct, and what I'm actually, you have to know that stuff to be able to, write this stuff. But the other thing is where I'm actually coming from is, actually, I'll give you that example, Kambamba Warriga, which was written a while ago for the Canberra International Music Festival. And I wrote the piece, and the way I wrote it was about the season. So the way I explain, I use it like this. I'm standing at the headland at Wreck Bay. To the right of me is New Cemetery. The New Cemetery, and to the left of me is the community. I'm at the headland. In winter, this is about the seasons. In winter, the wind just chills me to the bone because you're getting that headland wind coming off the sea right onto you. In summer, it's beautiful and can be really hot. And in spring, it's just refreshing. And it's that kind of idea, capturing those ideas on manuscript. And that's the way I explain it. And we have, names for in the Durga language, we have names for the seasons that have written the piece for elements, and that idea of actually having that. And the other thing I've said before is, like, when the musicians have a piece, a manuscript, a piece of music in front of them, that's, I say, this is what you've got, but this is where I'm coming from. And it might be, the idea of the winds, the different type of winds, the north wind, the south wind, those type of ideas. And the other thing is with that, I just work with my cousin and refer to people like the rangers down there who actually know that country like the back of their hands. So I do actually work with community and community members to make sure I'm kind of on the right path there. Yeah, and that all comes into play when I'm writing and composing.
Yeah, that's amazing, Brenda, because I think there's something so beautiful about your work when you talk about the wind, coming into your face, and how it has different sensations, and there's a different feeling to it all. I think what's really powerful about music, because it's sort of such an international experience of people, that we all get reminded of those sensations through oral means, and that's really kind of quite special. But it's also, I guess, about honouring country and being able to learn from our environment. I don't know about you, but I have to say lockdown really is a bit of the pits, really. But all of a sudden we've got people who are, rediscovering what it means to walk in a park, or to connect with nature in a different way, or the environment and the seasons. And we're reminded of how important that is for our health, I guess.
Yeah, definitely in these times, these weird times.
It's so weird. And it's also sort of what I like about what you've just sort of detailed there is the sort of collaborative nature of how when you're meeting a group of musicians, there's this sort of, it's like that there is an opportunity for everyone to come together or come towards each other through music. I think that's really beautiful.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, through the medium of music, you know. And that's a big part of what I do as well as collaboration, because I'm working collaboration, like with that cultural part. But the other thing is in collaboration with the musicians, because as much as we said this before, it's dots on paper, and the musicians actually breathe life into a piece.
They do, don't they?
Yeah, and it's that trust, the expertise, you know, each musician, and that's the other thing. It really is understanding their expertise on their given instruments, and as you know, an ensemble or a larger orchestra or whatever, and allowing them to run with it, because that's what they do. Yeah, you know, kind of with that, yeah, they run with what you've written.
Yeah, that's really wonderful. So you've had some pretty impressive moments in your career, Brenda, to be honest. One as a reformed saxophonist that I'll outline.
Yeah.
No longer play, so you know I've hung up the horn. It's in the cupboard. I have to say, I'm pretty impressed that Sandy Evans played Keeper of the Dreaming, which is one of your compositions. I'm not sure if that was like a massive career highlight, but I just wanted to flag that. You've also been commissioned by the Opera House by, I think, Rhoda Roberts.
Oh yeah, but yeah, okay.
And also you've done a lot of international touring and sort of connecting with different communities and different people. I'm just wondering, are there any particular moments that you've had so far in your career where you sort of think, wow, that was amazing, or gee, that was terrible, or you know, what are some of the
It's cool.
the moments for you so far in your career?
Yeah, I think kind of what one of them was getting the opportunity with the with Professor Lisa Lim and the Composing Women's Program, and getting my piece played by Professor Claire Chase, and she has this alto flute, and she's just an amazing musician. And when you actually get kind of brilliant musicians, they make it their own. Like you give them a piece of paper, here's a, you know, but they actually breathe life into it. And if they're really like you know, stellar musicians like she was on that flute, she just took it to another place for me, kind of like you can write as much detail as you can in a piece of music, but it really is that next level, and part of it is, like, I think with particular musicians, it's intuition. They speak through their instruments, and she just took it to the way she played it, she just took it to another completely amazing place, and it was just really an honour to have that opportunity to write for her, but actually to go to New York and actually hear firsthand, you know, and have do a workshop with her and that type of thing. Her and what's her name? Bree Van Ryk, who's here. She played the clapsticks, and it was just having two really intuitive musicians like that perform your piece was really lovely. One of those opportunities. And I was just thinking, when you said that, I'll go back to the days when I was touring and playing horn back in mixed relations and that was a great learning process as well, working with people like Bart Willoughby, who's just like an amazing musician. We went over we did a Pacific Islands tour, and that was beautiful because the people over there are just beautiful. We went to Kanak, and we went, no, it was Vanuatu, and you had the Kanak people there. And two things. We went to, played in one of the prisons there, and it's similar situation, not same, but similar situation where you have, approximately 60% of the prison population is Kanak. But the other thing was when we went there, then we went to, I think it was the Solomon Islands, and you had the local chief and his tribe come down with those big bamboo flutes. We went to their community and they came here and they did a performance with us, for us, and it was just beautiful. The people were so beautiful and welcoming, and it's amazing what they can do musically and culturally, very strong, and had really good coffee. So yeah, but it was really lovely. Just meeting the people within the islands and that, and just seeing how they live and how they practice culture. Yeah, so that was lovely.
It's a wonderful gift and exchange when that opportunities open up to you, isn't it?
Yeah, lovely. Yeah, it's like that, saying cultural exchange. Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah, it's really great. I'm curious to know, I guess as well, because really, Brenda, you're a composer at the moment. You've been a musician, and I think you recently wrote a piece for the Tasmanian Symphony Orchestra, I think.
Oh, yeah. So that was just kind of a couple of weeks ago, and that's part of my studies at at Sydney Uni for Professor Lisa Lim. The women, I'm doing masters in composition, and we got the opportunity to write a piece for the Tasmanian Symphony Orchestra, and that was amazing. I think it was one of the most challenging things I've done because we got to do it over. We did first draft 1 year, and this year they did a recording, and they were so lovely and very helpful, and it was a huge learning process for me writing for an orchestra, because orchestra is a huge beast. But I got a lot of help, and even in the rehearsal, because that's their bread and butter, and that's what they do daily. So they took the piece and they just, even in a half an hour rehearsal, they just tweaked it and made it sound brilliant. And it's that thing as well. I'm actually having an opportunity to write for an orchestra because, kind of like, I'm happy writing for, duos up to, 12 people, 14 people type thing in chamber ensembles. But that was just a whole nother learning experience. And I actually, to have that opportunity and get that, kind of collaboration was really great. Yeah. And the other thing was actually hearing my fellow composers, their pieces and that. But yeah, first year I found it very challenging because it's on such a large scale. But revisiting it, getting some help with actually, for me, it's hearing it. I couldn't, because it's such a large beast, I couldn't hear it clearly, and I have to be able to hear it internally first. And so the first year was, what am I doing? And the second year was better because I got people help me in that, so I could actually go back to the drawing board. So yeah, it was really just a great opportunity to write for an orchestra. So yeah, it was cool.
I can't even imagine what that would be like though, Brenda. Like when you're someone says, okay, Brenda, I'm going to give you this opportunity to write for the Tasmanian Symphony Orchestra. What happens in your head as a writer? Are you sort of
I think it's just kind of like the first year was like, okay, you missed the, you were wide of the, here's the goalpost, and you're kind of left of centre of the bloody goalpost. And then just coming back, and it's that learning experience, kind of even at my ripe age, it's a learning experience. It's kind of like back to the drawing board. And it's, for me, it was just step by step, and then revision, and, kind of slowly but surely building. It's like building blocks for me, that type of thing, yeah. I was really pleased with the end result, but it took me a while to get there. And I'm just really pleased I had the opportunity, because now I know kind of for me, it's kind of like, you use that playing game, ball game analogy. Now I know where the goalposts are and what the actual starting point is and how it actually works. It was cool, yeah.
I think
in the end. Yeah.
I think it's incredibly brave, because scaling up like that is no mean feat. To use a sporting analogy, sometimes, in my life when I've thrown a huge challenge, I just think, am I trying to play tennis on a football court? Like,
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like,
it's sort of like, oh, do I even know how I'm doing this? But yeah, that sounds pretty amazing. So now that you've chewed off, like you've bitten off that challenge and you've chewed it a bit, do you think there's more sort of symphony work ahead of you?
I wouldn't mind having another go at it. Yeah, another opportunity, because I think that's the thing as well. You build on it, kind of like I have a clearer idea of what it is and what's required to get there. So I'd love another opportunity, because the other thing is, having done it, is hearing it, being able to hear it firsthand. Then I know, okay, well, from there, I know how to operate in that space now.
That's amazing. It's really amazing, because I just, I think being able to be inside an ensemble, like you're probably used to hearing and listening from a musician's point of view, because you played in smaller bands, but when you're trying to listen to an orchestra, it's so, as you say, it's such a beast of a thing, isn't it? It's so complex, and
it's like everything's amplified, I think.
Yeah, you have to find a way to listen to it in a new way. So of course, what was pretty exciting and then terrible for us at the Women's Club is that we were going to be having one of your pieces played for International Make Music Day on the 21st of June, which was going to be finishing off our Women in Music series, which is why I really wanted to chat to you and say good day to you in this little series, so that when we can hear your music, we'll be able to put a face to the name and a face to the composition, which is really exciting. As I mentioned before, you were Ensemble Offspring's inaugural First Nations Composer in Residence for 2020. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What drew you to it? What was what does that mean for people that don't know what an artist or a composer in residence is?
Okay, well, that was kind of a really great opportunity. It came out of followed on from the work Ensemble Offspring has been doing with the Narraburria Composers Program, which is run by Dr. Chris Sainsbury at ANU, in conjunction with Ensemble Offspring and Mugglean Arts and the Music Centre, Australian Music Centre. And an outcome of their ongoing, support and involvement with that was they put that up. They had that position, and I was really lucky, because having access to musicians of that caliber, like Claire, Jason, and Lamorna, especially like being able to pick their ears, had conversations with Lamorna, and they're each brilliant in their own instruments, and being able to ring them up and and have pick their brains about what is it, overtones and undertones and all sorts of technical stuff, and you might have an idea where you want that to be an octave down or up, and is suitable within that instrument, the technical stuff. And then having somebody like Claire, who's just like a dynamo.
She certainly is. She's quite a firecracker, isn't she?
Yeah. Just having somebody like that in your ball, and you're supporting you, is really important. And then actually being able to having them record, some of your music and play and perform your music. And then I out of that residency, I wrote a piece called Yawa, which is talk, and it's just like that. The idea behind that was it's we talk, kind of like you can talk through the medium of music, people talk, then different ideas and versions of what talking is, kind of even in the silences. And that's a big thing for me, that idea of breath and space and having that incorporated in, written piece of manuscript. And that's whether that's a duo or, a 40-piece orchestra. That idea of talking, you have big loud, I say big loud Americans, but you have big loud Australians who just, talk and talk. But the other thing is, there's still talk, there's talking, you can sit down, you hear, and Rutan touched on this earlier, you sit down and actually hear, if you go to nature and sit in a forest, you can hear the trees, the winds talking to each other. And what actually talk is, in this 24-hour digital age we live in, actually the human voice talking, especially kids, I think, as well, with that whole idea of nature. There are different versions or different ideas of what talking is, and just to, kind of put that out there. But I really like the idea of, kind of us talking to each other through the medium of music. And I think that's the other thing we've kind of touched on this earlier was I try to, use the medium of music as a vehicle for my culture. So it's kind of like that's what the piece I ended up writing for them. And then we had this lovely concert down in about a month ago, a month or two ago, before it all happened, with the kids. And that was really lovely because they had with kids down at Bundanon, and that. And so that was kind of just like, it's really a great opportunity to have that, and you develop your skills as a composer, especially having those kind of I say razor sharp minds like Claire, musical minds like Claire, and the ensemble, to be able to say yes, no, that works, that doesn't work. You have to kind of and that's for me. Like, if I'm in a learning environment, I need somebody to be straight. Kind of like that shit, that works, that doesn't. Oh, try this a different way, up a tone, down an octave, whatever. And that's all part of the learning process. And that was really great. As part of that, the residency. So it was really good. And now they've got Nadi Simpson in doing a residency, and you learn a hell of a lot from that, and especially with musicians like Ensemble, Offspring. Yeah.
That's wonderful, Brenda. I have to say, look, we've gone a little bit over. I did promise that we'd finish up so that we could go have dinner and and cool our heels. But
Cool.
I just wanted to to just say, look, I do have a question here from Debbie Kearns. The question is that she really loved Mirawa, and she would like to know who was singing. And she has commented, loved the relationship between the vocal and the instrumental. I'm just wondering, do you remember?
Yeah, no, that was Sonia Howe, and she does work around. She was based in Sydney, and she does work around in Sydney, type different groups and different ensembles and plays. So yeah, it's really lucky to get her to do that, because she just did such a beautiful job.
Yeah. What strikes me about you, Brenda, and it's our first time meeting this evening, and I do hope that you'll come and we'll hear more of your music at the Women's Club soon. But what really strikes me about you and your practice is just how generous you are, and how open you are to the to collaboration with breath and with different types of instruments and different types of people and practices, and how brave you are in approaching the sort of giant goalposts of things like an orchestral work, and just, you know, being brave enough to say yes to even having a chat with a stranger on Zoom during these interesting times. I've got to say
Cool.
thanks so much. You know, I could have been anyone. I probably am, but I'd like to say thank you so much. I've really enjoyed learning more about your practice this evening, and I'm going to make sure that I feel the sort of breeze on my face, and remember to listen to all different types of ways of speaking and hearing. That's really such a precious gift you've given us this evening. Thank you for your work.
And thank you. Yeah, thank you for just, you know, giving me this opportunity to have a chat type thing. Yeah, because it's really nice. So thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Great to meet you, and I'm sure we'll catch you next time. So thanks you so much, Brenda. Hope you have a great
worries. Thanks again.